Reminder that the trade show is in our neighbor here, so if you can go support the trade show booths and just be there. There's a lot of excited people waiting to talk to people, so as you make your way through today, if you could stop in there and give them a good visit. They're excited and they want to talk to people about their industry and their services. Again, we're at day 2. I know Sheldon's busy on the right side of me here all the time, but for his team and to the Prairie Island exhibition, day 1 was a complete success. So a round of applause to their team again. They're very nervous. I really am honored to see the amount of work that went into the design and the layout and the theming of the event. They ordered all the First Nation flags from Saskatchewan, which is a big task. And so you see all of our flags on the walls representing, I believe, all the First Nations in Saskatchewan and a mix of the tribal councils. So congratulations on that, Sheldon, and your team for doing that. I really appreciate the entrance coming in. It's grand, it's spectacular, it's well thought out of, and it looks professional, and I can't believe his small team was able to successfully develop this 2 floors here and our 2 big meeting rooms. So hats off to the team here. So today we're moving a bit around. This is Hall C, I believe, and Hall A is to our right where we were yesterday. So we're going to operate out of Hall C today, and then a bit of Hall A through the plenary session. So, but it's our last Center of Excellence, last day of the conference, and before we get too far into it, thanks to the elders for lifting a pipe today for everyone's travel here and everyone's travels home, that you're safe. And so that's from all of us here. We just want to appreciate everything that you've taken your time over the last 2 days to support their inaugural conference on leadership and resource development. I am going to call my boss. So I have a boss here today. I've had bosses yesterday, but my one boss is Chief Tanya Aguilar-Antiman from Mosquitoes Grizzly Bears Head Lean Man First Nation, and my auntie, who is our elder and a senator for the Federation of Saskatchewan Indigenous Nations, Senator Jenny Spyglass. And Jenny Spyglass is a survivor of the Delmas Residential School, and I told you about a person I was looking for, a brother that she lost, and that we made a promise to her that we are going to try find her 5-year-old brother from Delmas. And so it's my great honor to introduce Chief Tanya Aguilar-Antiman and Senator Jenny Spyglass. If you've known Mosquito Grizzly Bear Head Lean Man in the Battlefords, you need to go back there and see how progressive and how forward-thinking that First Nations become. They are one of the leaders of economic development in that region with all the other bands. So with that, I'm just going to introduce them and let them give you some good words.
Thank you, Neil. First of all, I would like to acknowledge the beautiful day and the pipes that were lifted, and most importantly, all our knowledge keepers, leadership, and all the different corporations that are here. My name is Tanya, and I'm Chief of Mosquito Grizzly Bear Head Lean Man. We are a very unique nation. We've entered into 2 treaties, Treaty 4 and Treaty 6. And this is something that, our nation continues to address on a daily basis. But I'm here to share my experience and observation of Mother Earth teachings in the action during my role as chief. Like many other nations, Mosquito Grizzly Bear Head Lean Man has faced many challenges over the decades and century with our non-Indigenous businesses and neighbors. And as a young person, growing up, I observed how our adults and our elders were treated by these businesses and our neighbors. And it was hurtful to watch my relatives be disrespected. And over 25 years of working with First Nations in Saskatchewan and Alberta and the various treaty territories, then becoming chief in 2019, I can say our nation continues to face challenges, and we can learn from these experiences. And for myself as a female chief, I've experienced sexism and discrimination as a First Nations person. Yet, not giving up, I am proud to stand with colleagues and Saskatchewan leading the way with 25+ female chiefs here in the province of Saskatchewan, continuing to trailblaze. We heard a loud message yesterday about collaboration, relationship building, inclusiveness of Indigenous men and women and nations sitting at the tables, bringing prosperity to First Nations communities, our Saskatchewan province and Canada. First Nations are here today and moving forward, ready to do business. This forum is long overdue, providing us the opportunity to learn the basis of good relationship in business, economic development, and shared opportunities, a treaty promise we all are fulfilling. My elders always told me to take care of the land, and it'll take care of you. Our Nakota relatives said, take care of the buffalo, and they will take care of you. And through many nation-to-nation visits, national park site visits in Canada and the USA, meetings, and with government and associates, this ongoing relationship building, we were gifted 2 buffalo herds. One herd comes from the Elk Island in 2023, which led to talks and partnership opportunities with the Yellowstone herd in 2025. A historic nation-to-nation relationship and partnership with the Fort Peck tribe. This is an international exchange. We are a proud Nakota nation, currently the only nation in Canada that has 2 herds, and we become members of today's modern Buffalo Treaty in 2022. And since been hosting and involving many ceremonies to call back the buffalo, an animal which was our survival, our ancestors' resource to our people, which almost became extinct over 150, 200 years, now returning and roaming the traditional territory. We as a people are watching and learning from the buffalo as they are teaching us. We observe that other animals are coming to our area. More moose, bear, even cougars, but most recently, antelope. And it could be fires, or is it because of the buffalo? The soil has changed, medicines are coming back, our ceremonies are coming back in our territory. The land and the environment is recovering and healing, and that's something we're witnessing. We believe becoming a Tatanka Yate Buffalo people is beginning of a good relationship that are leading us in good direction and healing. Another example, most recently, our nation was part of visiting 2 STEM schools in Alberta. And this model we need to see more to prepare our young people for the future. We need these good relations to create opportunity for our children and build up our future. In closing, our children are watching us. And no matter what hat or role you play, you are contributing to, we have a responsibility. I have a constitutional responsibility as a woman, a mother, a grandmother, a Nakota Nation, as a chief to protect the land, Treaty 4 and Treaty 6 territories, southern Manitoba through Saskatchewan into Alberta and across the Medicine Line, until the sun shines and the grass grows and the rivers flow. We have more to learn from our Mother Earth teachings, the buffalo and each other, and for the future of our children, youth, and nations. Panamaya, thank you. At this time, I'd like to introduce someone special who's very special to me. She's my role model. She's Mosquito Grizzly Bear Head Lean Man's oldest woman. She's the first female chief who negotiated the first urban reserve development 35 years ago in North Battleford. And she's the first female senator to be appointed from Mosquito Grizzly Bear Head Lean Man, Senator Jenny Spyglass.
Good morning, everyone. Today is a special day for me. I'm very honored to be invited here to come and say an opening prayer. But I want everyone to help me to say a prayer this morning. I always speak in my language because my language is so beautiful. And it gives me the strongness, the inspiration within my beliefs that my language is very, very powerful. Because I once lost my language, I'm back in it again, and I want everyone to help me pray for a good meeting, to get to know each other, to communicate together, to honor each other, to love one another. It's very important for me to love one another and to forgive. Most of all, to forgive. That's what I learned as I grew. I'm going to be 84 years old in 5 months' time, and I still work. I'm still working. I get up in the morning. I fly to work, and I'm happy. I'm happy every morning when I get up. I thank the Creator for giving me the strength, the powerful things in my body. I'm a diabetic, but that doesn't stop me. I'm on a go, till my body gets tired and I know when to rest. And I say one more time, I thank my chief for the inspiration, for all the things that he's done for our reservation. I thank Sheldon for inviting, for us to be together, to get to know each other, to get to know our Mother Earth. But one thing that breaks my heart is the fires out there on Mother Earth. It breaks my heart for my people to go out, evacuees, we call them. It breaks my heart to see the little children that suffers to leave their homes, the animals, everyone. They're very important to us on Mother Earth. And with that, I say, hi, everyone. Kai mihanano, we're going to pray. Thank you. Mamono tawinan, se mantu. Anos ka kik se paak, hebna na skumtan, ka kiaki ka tutamauya. Tau timaga, ento tamatan. Kasawe matsuku kakio. Utan waku makanana ka witap magok. Kiam e miasik mam taneitskan ka miatsikakio. Mina nistanan mamono tawinan. Kakskeita mam taneitskanan. Kakeki koe miasik. Kiam ka miyaki koe. Mina ento tamatan. Kastaweha minum hiskote wekte. Kiamak te kapin kimwan, hite makapin paste, mamono tawinan. Te uchip nakatuke, hek te uchip pisiskisak, minay, njay sinim sinanak, pukite kap maatskakte, mamono tawinan, kanaweta maunan. Minanots, pun payumuta. Kiam wasena maunan meskano, hitakapin paya. Kanawem nan, kwes ngamiuta kutan, ante kapeututia. Sawe mikakio hukuta kap maya chip mamono tawinan. Kip nanaskum nan puki koi. Hi. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator, for the prayer, and thank you, Chief, for good words to everyone. We go like that, that's a good day. So have a good day, everyone. It's a special day for us too here. I just want to ask the House staff here to bring water to the tables, if they could. Just if someone could notify the House here that to bring water. It's getting kind of dry on the tables here already, but. Have a real special presentation. I'd like to call up Rupen Pandya, President CEO of SaskPower, if he could come up. Sheldon Wapney, President and CEO, Saskatchewan First Nations Natural Resource Center of Excellence. Special guest, our very special guest, the Honorable Minister Jeremy Harrison, Crown Investment Corporation. And I'd like to call up Chief Tyson Bear, Chairperson of the Saskatchewan First Nations Natural Resource Center of Excellence. We got a very special announcement. I'm going to turn it over, ask Chief Delbert Wapas from the Thunderchild First Nation to come and deliberate the meaning of the signing for today.
Hamnoago magantik. Moiganes. Magananta kap mai team ego te hatio kap ne hioan. Chige maki team nogo te kap mapchik. Mina gota kak ne hio te kan stutag ne hion. Ego mo manuts. Kawi oski sagwa mak danse. Is wita to skem te chigo goge. Oge kawi to skem aya gok minan tuam nok. Danse kagis miuiche to. Danse kagis miuato scatto. Ego danse kigwe kagi miasigo tenigan. Kagi tu chakatek danse kagis wita to skemto. In an askamak, our minister Jeremy Harrison ego quest. If msito squat mina quest if mato squat ne hio. Mina Sheldon ego iagamemot. If ni postamagwak. Mina ogumagano our chairman Tyson Bear ogmagan from Flying Dust. Min ego itagagipte tuestamagwak ini postamagwak amagweski way kapachi got Sims no minan teska moiteska kap ni tawagit. I want to say good morning to each and every one of you. And it's out of respect to our elders, to our people who are here. And I was always told to speak the native language first, our language, to acknowledge the Creator and to acknowledge our language. I want to say that I'm honored, to speak to this just briefly, but to introduce, our head table here. It was many of us as Indigenous peoples, we have experienced a lot within our lives. And we've experienced, the fact that we hear and we read about and we watch all this excitement that goes around us and really not being acknowledged or brought into the fold to be part of that excitement, to celebrate along with the rest of Saskatchewan, along the rest of Canada. We are honored that we have a government here in Saskatchewan that is saying First Nations people matter. Premier Scott Moe has made that point to ensure that Indigenous peoples have a place at the table when we talk about resources. And it's through our good friend, our minister, Jeremy Harrison, who has fostered that relationship in our area. And we've come to that common understanding, that respect, where we don't take the word brother lightly, but he's worked close with Flying Dust First Nation. He's worked close with Thunderchild, and he's worked close with other communities. And it's with that honor and that commitment and his understanding that what I say is what I do, Chief. And that's why it's an honor today, and I'm not surprised that under his leadership, with the support of the President and CEO of Sask Power, Rupin, and the work that he does and his team does, and the work that the Center of Excellence does, Sheldon, with the support of the Board of Directors, that we are here today to witness the signing of a memorandum of understanding on how we are going to work in equity opportunities. What does a partnership mean? We have come to an understanding in how we're defining partnership is how the Sask Power sees the same way we see it the way we define partnership is how they see it as well. And that relationship, the responsibility that goes with the relationship of business, that is not transactional. It's not just about we made a deal, let's go on. No, we come to an understanding, we come to a deal making, and it's that responsibility that both sides take on and foster that relationship. So today, yes, there are many people behind that make this possible. But it's the leadership that gives the runway to the staff to do what they do, to follow the vision of government, to follow the vision of our First Nations leadership. Right from trade to export to equity opportunities, to have a place at the table. Wow. We've really, it's something to celebrate. And, our people are happy back home. And we should all be, because we are all treaty people. And we all have a responsibility to treaty. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I want us to witness this beautiful opportunity here. And at this time, I'd like to call our Minister, Jeremy Harrison, come say a few words.
Well, thank you so much, Chief. You are much too kind, and just so the room knows, Delbert's been a great friend for over 20 years, and a real mentor to me in many ways. So I just want to start off by acknowledging that we are on Treaty 6 territory, the homeland of the Métis. Want to acknowledge the leaders here in this room. And many of you, this really feels very comfortable. Many of you, we worked together for decades now and have made some real progress. And this is really a part of that story as well. Want to acknowledge our folks at the head table here. Chief Bear, the chair of the board here, we grew up together in Meadow Lake, played hockey together, been friends since we've been probably 8 or 9 years old. So thanks so much, Chief, for that. Acknowledge Rupin Panja, our CEO of Sask Power, has done a great job and really is committed to the direction that we are going in here, that will be reflected in the MOU that we're signing. And Sheldon Whitney, what an amazing job. Holy smokes, this is a great event. And Sheldon's put absolutely. I just genuinely want to congratulate you, Sheldon, and through you, your entire team and the board of the center for just putting together a absolutely first-rate, first-class event. This is an amazing thing, so thank you for that. Want to thank the Center of Excellence as well. Just remarkable partnership. And what we're going to be signing here today, I almost see as a formalization of the relationship that's developed between the center and Sask Power, but more broadly between the government and the center, who really are just an incredible partner. representing all of the First Nations here in Saskatchewan, and doing amazing work. And the chiefs should all know, and councillors, about how incredibly effective the advocacy and the partnership of the centre to the government and how seriously that relationship is taken. It's a testament to the credibility that the organization and the centre have. And I just really want everybody to know, this is the first phone call. We are talking to Sheldon, the centre, and through the centre, FSIN, when we are working on these projects. And we'll talk a bit about the MOU, but I really want to kind of take a bit of a step back and talk about the bigger picture in this and how we got to where we're at today and where we're going to go into the future on this. I've been in elected office now for 21 years, and I know that there are leaders here, chiefs, councillors who have been in elected office even longer than that. I know Delbert has been, for example. You don't spend 21 years or longer in public life unless you're driven and really passionate about serving your public and serving your community, serving your nation. And it's because you really do want to make a difference. And one of the reasons, I can tell you probably one of the primary reasons I'm still doing this is this journey on economic reconciliation with our First Nations communities, our First Nations institutions, and ultimately how we get to the point where we do have genuine participation, and not just participation, but genuine partnership in developing our economy. And that conclusion that I have come to over that period of time means there has to be, the only path forward is equity, participation, ownership in natural resource and power projects. That has to be what the future looks like. And that has manifested itself in real things. As the Minister of Trade and Export Development, we instituted the Indigenous Investment Finance Corporation. And that was copied by the federal government as well. And actually, they just doubled it in the throne speech, which is fantastic. But this was designed to address a very real barrier to that participation. And I think it's probably not well known, but it is incredibly difficult for First Nations governments or businesses to actually borrow money to be in a position to participate in an equity context in either a power project or in a resource development project, or whatever it is. I mean, it's almost impossible because banks and financial institutions won't loan First Nations institutions, governments, businesses money because of the way the Constitution is set up and how they can realize on collateral. So we have an actual issue of market failure here, which has prevented First Nations from participating in equity positions in projects for most of the country's history. So the solution to that is government, and government is the solution by providing loan guarantees such that financial institutions will participate along with First Nations governments and companies. So that conclusion really came from the experience I had growing up in Meadow Lake and seeing the incredible work, and this is, I think, probably more broadly applicable, but I know my example for Meadow Lake is through Meadow Lake Tribal Council, who now nearly 30 years ago were in a position to have an ownership position in a forestry company. At that point, it was a pretty small operation, North Sask Forest Products. MLTC ended up with had a position in the company, joint management of the forest through Mystic Management. And they, through that initial position in the company, have built something really remarkable. Over half the forestry sector in the province is Indigenous owned at this point. I would say the significant majority of employment in that sector is Indigenous. And that was not just by accident. That was through an incredible amount of hard work and vision by folks who really built that organization. I'm thinking of Percy DeRocher or Rhea Hennique, who just did an amazing job, and folks like Tyson are building on that legacy, and Chief Normand and others. But that was only possible because there was support from government to to get to that point in partnership. And it's worked. It's worked remarkably well. MLTC now branched out into power biomass. We just did an announcement about 3 or 4 weeks ago on a partnership to produce 300 megawatts of renewable power, 100 megawatt solar project, 200 megawatt wind project with Potentia. MLTC, 51% owners in that. So that is where we need to get to, whether it be on power generation, whether it be in the rest of the resource sector. This is what the future has to look like. And we are absolutely committed as government to make sure that we do what we need to do to make sure that future is realized, because it has to be. That can be the only way forward for this province. So with that, I want to just really, again, say how honored we are to be a partner with the Centre in this initiative, signing this MOU, really focusing on engagement, supply chain development, energy development, equity participation, a lot of the stuff we have been working on, but really formalizing that partnership, which has been incredibly beneficial. But the future is bright. I'm very, very optimistic about what this future is going to look like here in Saskatchewan, that we build together in partnership that is going to benefit everybody in this province. So thank you so much for being here. Congratulations to the Centre, and look forward to the signing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister Harrison, for your beautiful words. The next speaker I'd like to call up to come say a few words is a colleague of mine, and I've always heard about his leadership. And when I go to the Meadow Lake area and I go to the Flying Dutch community and go to the powwow, I hear a lot of the membership very proud of their chief. And I've had the opportunity and privilege to work with him on the board and other projects, and I'm very impressed. You know, he's a very community-oriented leader, and he's done so much for our center as our chairman, and we are very proud of him as a board, and we'd like to call him forward to come say a few words on behalf of the Center of Excellence, Chief Tyson Bear.
Good morning, everybody. I guess it's been a second day here. We're getting to meet everybody and, you know, open some new lines of communication. You know, this MOU is very important. It's a move in the right direction for the center and all the nations involved. We got 74 nations that we work for, and, you know, and trying to open up those lines of communication and the opportunities for everybody out there, right? That's what we do. That's, you know, being in leadership and like back home, and being in leadership at a board like at this level, you're out there trying to create opportunities for like back home for your people, but at this level for the other chiefs as well, to let them know that if there's anything happening that you're going to be involved, we want you to be involved. Like, there's so much going on, so many moving parts right now in the industry out there. It's you always need a helping hand, and there's a lot of people out there that there's consultants and organizations that will charge you a fee to try and take care of your opportunities, and it doesn't work so well for us. I think it's I'd like to thank the elder this morning for lifting the pipe and the wise words this morning of guidance and stuff like that, and I'd also the Cookham Jenny for the wise words again of, you know, take care of each other, love each other. You know, that's always good words to carry on from a place like this, to know that, you know, we're all humans, we're all should take care of each other and love each other and make this world a better place, right? And this is a good one, this MOU that's being put up here today. A lot of work. I was just put as a chair of the board. There was a lot of work prior to me being here. There's a history of work that's been done from Sheldon and even prior to Sheldon, and the chiefs, the veteran chiefs that had been here a long time, some that are not even here today. You know, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them and for the chiefs that fought hard You know, it's 20 some years later. We're sitting here and we're just getting here now. And I know it's going to get better. Look at the gal, look at the forum we're having today. Look at the setup. Look at the people sitting beside us. Look at, you know, I'm proud to be here. It's an honor to be here, to be representing the 74 nations as well. I know that this is something new. Maybe it's, you know, it's a lot of the leadership. We've always tried to figure out how to get around to building these relationships and stuff. Some of us are lucky, like, to grow up with Jeremy, you know, but some never grew up with Jeremy, like, so, you know, as just sitting on the board and knowing that we can get those opportunities going for the other nations, you know, and for our people to trust in us that we're gonna guide them and lead them into the good opportunities the right way. You know, that's one of these things that it's an honor again to sit with Delbert. You know, Delbert pumped my tires there. Yeah, thank you, Chief. And then sit with Shelley, so knowledgeable, Chief Shelley Bear. You know, the history they have. I sit there and I've been in leadership for 11 years, but I'm still just a rookie. I sit there and listen to them more than anything, and I'm sitting there and I'm still in awe of the leadership abilities they have, the older chiefs and the wise words they say, and they have, you know, they don't, it's all from the heart. Everything they say is from the heart all the time. They lead with their hearts. They've been there 20 years, 20 some years, like Jeremy. Yeah, your heart's got to be in the game to lead like that and to have your heart there and just the wise words that flow out. You know, today it's an honor to be here to sign this, and I'm glad everybody came back. Last night everybody left. You guys, you should have stayed a little bit longer because I started singing George Jones after everybody left there. Yeah, you would have heard some classics, but everybody left anyway, so you didn't get a chance to. But with that, just have a good day, and thank you again for attending, and hope for a good day. Many blessings to you all. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Chief Tyson. And thank you for your leadership at the board. At this time, the next speaker we're going to call forward is a good friend of ours, Rupin, who is the president and CEO of Sask Power. And it's one thing, you know, for the minister to say what he says, or a chief to say what they say. But it's another thing to have it implemented by your director of operations, by your chief of staff, by your president, CEO. And you always wonder, well, geez, it's really good that the minister said that, but I wonder if it's going to happen down here. And, you know, it's very uplifting to know and to understand and feel how the Minister Harrison and Rupin complement each other, and how they're on the same page in regards to what it is that we are all trying to aspire to. Yes, we all know that we're not going to make everybody happy, but it's the pursuit of doing your best that matters, and to be honest about it. And that's the understanding that we've come to believe in this individual who is Rupin. So we're glad and happy and honored and privileged that he's going to carry on in a good way the work that the government has asked him to do, as well as us here in Saskatchewan. So our next speaker, ladies and gentlemen, Rupin. Thank you.
Well, Good morning, everyone, and Chief Wapase, I want to just say thank you for those very kind and gracious words and the warm welcome that you have given myself and the entire team at SaskPower. You know, I think I heard the minister say that he considers you a mentor, and I know I've only known you for a short time, but I'd like to believe that you're also a mentor to me. I know I've already learned so much just from our interactions. I'd like to just to thank and acknowledge Elder Neepy for lifting the pipe this morning. Again, just so much rich knowledge that I gained. I've been privileged enough to be to many different pipe ceremonies, but it was so great to hear his perspective on the importance of pipe and its link to the First Nations worldview. Senator Spyglass and Chief Antonym, thank you very much. Chief Bear, thank you for your leadership in guiding the Center of Excellence. Minister Harrison, of course, and Sheldon. And Sheldon, I just got to say, and I know the minister said this, but this conference has been spectacular. I have to tell you, the caliber, the speakers, me excluded, by the way, but it has been fantastic, and you and your team deserve just all of our appreciation, and so congratulations on the conference. And then just a thank you and an acknowledgement to all of you for attending. I think that there's over 420 registrants who are attending this conference, and that really speaks to the importance of not only the conference, but this particular moment in Canadian history. So as our power system grows and evolves, we will need an all-of-the-above approach to electricity generation as we move into the future to ensure that we can provide reliable and affordable energy. And as we build and grow that power system, this presents a historic opportunity for economic reconciliation. And so I am just so pleased and proud to be partnering with the Center of Excellence in support of meaningful inclusion of Indigenous, First Nations and Indigenous partners in the power system going forward. As a company, we are committed to building a strong partnership with the Saskatchewan First Nations Resource Center of Excellence, one that is built on the spirit of reconciliation and based on mutual respect and cooperation. And so the Memorandum of Understanding between our two organizations really provides a framework for how we are going to include First Nations in our province's power future. And that inclusion will take many different forms. Certainly the MOU will speak to how we'll engage with First Nations on the future of Saskatchewan's energy supply, but certainly also how we can talk about recruiting and training a strong workforce and helping First Nations controlled or partner suppliers continue to take part in our robust supply chain. And the MOU also highlights the importance of Indigenous and traditional knowledge and ensures that this will continue to play an important a role in all of the work that we do together. And Chief Wapas in his comments noted that it's important to have these types of events. It's important to have MOUs. It's important to be clear about our declaration. But what is equally important is to actually take action on the words that we're putting to paper. And I am so humbled and proud to talk about the action that we are taking as a company on behalf of our shareholder, Government of Saskatchewan, on that front. We have already committed to $1 billion of supply chain activity with Saskatchewan First Nations that will come into the SaskPower supply chain over the course of the next 10 years. We are already this year, thank you. Yeah. Already this last year, we committed $118 million. It's a record level of participation, and we're seeking to grow that. And that's not me, that's the team in the room working with Indigenous businesses across Saskatchewan that are doing such amazing and important work because of the leadership that is in this room here today. And beyond the commitments on procurement, SaskPower has procured primarily wind and solar procurements that total $5.1 billion. And in every single one of those procurements, Indigenous equity is playing a central role, and you heard the minister talking about 51% equity in the latest wind and solar procurements taking place in Saskatchewan. That is real economic reconciliation, and I am so proud of the small role our company is playing on that front. So I'd like to thank everyone involved on both sides of this agreement, all the people who actually did the work to put pen to paper to get us to today. I know that's on both the Center of Excellence side, but also on the SaskPower side. And I look forward to working with all of you, and I'm looking forward to the possibilities today's MOU presents. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Rupin. Can I please get the Board of Directors of the Center of Excellence to stand wherever you're at? I don't know if some got called to the casino last night. They had to go and pray over there. But I know we have one or two board members that are here. Someplace here. Oh, there she is, Chief Shelley Bear from Ochapuis. There's somebody else here? We have Chief Roger that's here as well, one of our chiefs. Yeah, thank you very much. And if I know we have our council members here from Thunderchild First Nation, Councillor Leonard Sapp, Councillor Katrina, Frank. I also want to acknowledge, Chief Tanya, who's here, and a gentleman who's very humble, and but has done so much for us in Saskatchewan. I want to acknowledge him as well, which is Neil Sasakamus. Thank you very much for the work that you do on our behalf, Neil. The next speaker that I'd like to call forward is our host, and that's Sheldon Watney. And I know a lot has been said about him, but I have a couple of stories. No, I was kidding. I won't go there. In our circle, we'd say those are tobacco stories. But we can't speak enough about the leadership, that has been shown at the Center of Excellence to ensure that we are involved, that nations in Saskatchewan are involved, and that they understand and that they're in a know of what's going on. And he keeps telling himself that the institution is bigger than the individual, and that his job is to protect the institution, and that if he does his job well, the institution will protect him. Hence, why he's been there for 15 plus years, for the job that he has done, for the various and different leaderships that have been there. And we know how volatile politics can be. But to be able to stick-handle your way through all that and to still come on top, to say, I have something to share with you, chiefs. Tell me what you think, because I take direction from you. That's humility. That's respect. But that's being grounded within your ceremony. So today, we are witnessing what we're witnessing here because of those teachings and that experience. And today, as the Chiefs of Saskatchewan and as the Board of Directors of the Center of Excellence, we are honored to have Sheldon be our leader within the Center of Excellence. And at this time, I'd like to call him to come say a few words. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chief Wapas, and thank you to the other speakers, Chief Tyson, Minister Harrison, and Rupin, my good friend. I want to speak to a couple things that we heard this morning in the pipe ceremony, and what resonated with me as I sat there and thought about this morning and the last few days. And as we hosted the youth on day one in the inspirational messages that they shared, and also those that helped us with the pipe, the raising and the lowering today. And one of the things that came through was you have to believe. You have to have faith in what you believe. And sometimes belief and faith is taught by those that come before us as mentors. And I know he's usually really quiet, but I want to acknowledge one of our elders now, but one of our longtime chiefs as well, Chief Brian Standingready. And I want to thank you for being here. We worked together a lot of years, and when I was a young chief, I had the fortunate situation to sit alongside a lot of our elders now, in some we know that have gone on. And Chief Brian was very adamant and active in the natural resource sector. And I'm very pleased to have you here, Chief, because I'm hoping that some of the work that we're doing as the younger ones are following along the road that you started for us and others before all of us. And so it's with those things today, as you see this event and the MOU coming together, it started with faith and the belief that we as First Nations have a responsibility and a right to be at the table and make decisions for our people. And when it comes to our role at the Center of Excellence, our job is to help facilitate and be a conduit to our First Nations leaders, our chiefs, our council members, our elders, to have those seats at the tables. And when it comes to meetings and discussions, there's a lot of them that occur, and many of you are having those important discussions today. And I was able to have many discussions with our chiefs, with our elders, with Minister Harrison, and with Rupin. And we discussed the relationship and the vision and the belief and the faith that we had in working together as the Center and Sask Power to work together to open doors, not for ourselves, but for young people that were here the other day, to be able to aspire to building a career and opportunity in energy and the natural resource sector, which we know that is tied very strongly to our cultural and traditional ways, our sovereignty, our natural law, and our responsibilities to those natural laws. And it was, as we see ourselves today up here, it's only a reflection of those that have come before us. We're here for a certain point in time. But that certain point in time can create opportunities to reach milestones that can help the next generation. And with this MOU, in terms of assigning today, it only comes to be real if there's spirit and intent behind it. And we've worked to include our elders to help speak to and carry the responsibility of the Spirit and to speak to the Creator for things to go well as we move forward. And then we work towards the practical and implementation as we move forward, because we have young people that want to work and find a career. We have hundreds of First Nations businesses across the country that built themselves for a reason to also advocate and find opportunity to benefit. And then now we're looking at the many opportunities around project ownership and equity, because our belief is that the equity will help drive those opportunities in supply chain, will help drive those opportunities for careers in the sectors. And that's our role at the center, is merely to help open those doors. And we need very valuable relationships to make that happen. And as we move through these 2 days in this event, it was fitting to ensure that we're able to share some of the spirit and intent behind a relationship moving forward and formalize that with our MOU today. So it's with that I am up here being able to speak, but I don't know if I've walked through the last couple days without tears in my eyes for more than 10 minutes, which many of you probably seen. But it really is you all here that have made the event. And we thank you very much for being here. Thank you.
At this time, we will. Where's the feathers? Hey, he's kidding. At this time, we'll proceed with the signing.
Did it work out? Yeah, it did work out.
Let's give it a round of applause for this relationship here. I'd like to, at this time, ask our head table here to remain sitting, and I'd like to ask everybody to stand, please. A song is going to be rendered in honor and in the spirit of this relationship. You can remain seated. Thank you very much.
If Wild Horse Singers, are you in the room? Wild Horse Singers? Okay. Just one last outstanding item. There's a gift exchange here. If we could get Minister Jeremy Harrison up to the center here to receive a blanket on behalf of the Center of Excellence. And if the CEO is available for SaskPower, Rupin, you can come up too as well. And if we can get Wild Horse Singers.
The Dene drummers.
Oh, Dene Drummers, a stump. If I could get some of the members from some of the corporate sponsors, if you could come up to the stage, please. Nutrien. If anyone's from Nutrien is here. If you could come make your way up here. Kinetics, if you're here, one of the sponsors for the event. If Kinetics is here, could you come to the stage, please? The Crown Investments Corporation, if there's a member here, could you come to the stage? SaskPower, if there's a member from SaskPower that's maybe second in command, if you could come to the stage. Nuclear Waste Management Organization, one of the sponsors, if you could come to the stage. AECon Group, one of the sponsors, if you could come to the stage now. Saskatchewan Polytechnic, if you could come to the stage, if there's a member here. GE Vernova, if there's a member here, a sponsor member, if you could come to the stage, please. Cernovis. Cernovis. I'm getting dry. Synovis. If you could come to the stage, if you're one of the sponsors. Mosaic, if you could come to the stage as well. Amazon Web Services, if there's a member here, could you come to the stage as well? University of Regina, if there's a member here, could you come to the stage as well? We just want to get some acknowledgement for, to the sponsors to the event. And we're going to get our singers. They're going to, thank you very much. So just again, a member from Nutrien, Mosaic, Kinetrix, Crown Investment Corp, SaskPower, Nuclear Waste Management Organization, AECon Group, Saskatchewan Polytechnic, GE Vernova, Synovis, Amazon Web Services, University of Regina. If we could get members from there. And if this is the entirety of the sponsor list, with the minister here, I just want to, these are the, and University of Saskatchewan, sorry. If you're a member, a sponsor member, please come up. University of Saskatchewan. I think that's everyone. Everyone, if you can give a round of applause to the sponsors that made the event successful. And I don't want to take too much more time of the minister's time. If he has to go, that's fine. If we could get our singers to sing us an honor song, Dene honor song for all these people here that supported the wishes and ambitions of all these people to meet today. Aho. Wollaston Lake Singers, give them a round of applause, please. Okay. Thank you very much, sponsors. Thank you very much, Minister Rupin, and all the sponsors for the event. You're free to go. There's a media scrum going on the right side. I'm just going to call on, I want to introduce the singers, George Tasani, Angus Yosionen, Dion Tasani, Lenin Yosi. If you, Mike on left side, please.
Hey, morning. Good morning, Chief and Consuls, elders, open prayer this morning. I listened to this conference and forums yesterday. It was a good presentations. So we're from Wollaston Lake. This is the group of Dunny drummers, but this is the powerful when it's when you think about the mention that animals there yesterday, how to live with the animals. This is the drum that we have here. It's made out of the caribou hide, and a lot of people mentioned the animals, that logo that they had last evening there, last night there, and that logo that they have, Sheldon mentioned. We all came from resource, the earth. So we came from the earth as the nation, the people, and we live off the land big time. We still live off the land. And we have a lot of resource in our area. Where we came from, there's about 5 different mines in our areas. And we should have worked together in the first place. But I don't want to say this, but I don't want no people turned down here, but we don't have any benefit out of it. So if we work together, like they signed a MOU here this morning, we should have done that. And the SAS power that we have here right now, as we're talking, there's no power at Wollaston here, and so we know that the power came from Charlotte River, and we always have a power outage every summer. So we're losing a lot of materials that we use when all of a sudden the power went off. And the things that we're struggling, we don't have any, the road to there where we came from. They're working on it, but slowly. And everything that we does there, but we should have something out of the mines benefit. So I'm just gonna speak on this this drum here. Like I said before, the animals, the elders used to say, we are the animals, like they mentioned yesterday. So we are the people. Like we have strong faith, all that I have. We can't live off without the faith. Everything that we do, we have to do it as a human. Everything that we do is true, but everything that we have, if we work together, we'll be more powerful, stronger. So with that, I have to thank Sheldon, everything that organized. I know when you organize things like this, it's a lot of work, effort, everything that we have here. So with that, on behalf of the committee of Hatchet Lake, and I see the people from north up there, Black Lake there too. So, Masicho, thank you, dedicate.
Thank you. Thank you, George. My name is Angus Yoshio. I'm from Hatchet Lake band. Also, I became a elder of myself right now. I used to be a chief one day in 1981, and I used to come to conference like this before. So anyway, I just want to speak on behalf about this drum, what we use here, because the old generation, grandfathers used to use these drums to use for anything, like to healing people, healing sick people, and also they're calling animals to get them in closer to where the village used to be. So that's what this shows is a very powerful thing for us, because we're using it for anything. We use it for, sometimes we use it for games and dance and simple things like that. Anyway, so I'd like to thank George and also these two boys here with us to do a song for the people just here with us a few minutes ago. So that's why I say it's a long way from here where we came from, where George is talking about South Florida, but I noticed that they told us when the line's coming from all the way from Lake Athabasca area. So there's a lot of long ways. Anyway, for that, so I will say thanks to these boys here who came with us to do some songs for you guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We're going to ask them to sing one more song for everyone. We call it a going away song, where we're from. And they're a song for people that are going, a grief song for them. So if you're missing someone or you know of someone, they're going to sing a song for everyone that's missing someone or someone that's going away. Aho! Hey, thank you. Hatchet Lake Singers. Aho. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Just want to mention a few more sponsors that I failed. I apologize. Westinghouse, if you're here, you lift your arm up. Westinghouse, thank you very much for being a sponsor to the event. Grid United, thank you very much, Grid. Give them a round of applause. Deep, thank you very much. Natural Resources Canada, if you're here, just raise your arm. There you are, thank you very much, give them a round. Burgess Canada, if you're here in the room, thank you very much. Westmoreland, if you're here. Westmoreland, thank you. Sask Tourism, if you're here. Saskatchewan Tourism. Discover Saskatoon. Canadian Nuclear Association. Saskatchewan Resource Council, if you're here. There you are, thank you. Give them a round, you guys. Sask Energy, SaskTel. There you are, thanks for coming. Oh, Tom Samaganus. Everyone knows Tom Samaganus, and there we go. SaskTel and Sask Energy. So thank you very much, Tom. You want to come and talk for an hour, Tom? Okay, no, we're not going to let you. But thank you for being sponsored. Denison Mines, right there. Again, there we go. Denison Mines, give her a round of applause for being a sponsor. Thank you very much. K+S Potash, if you're in the room. K+S. Farm Credit Corp. There you are. Thank you very much for being a sponsor. Innovation Credit Union, thank you very much for being a sponsor. We're going to move on to the regulatory and legal frameworks in transition. We're going to talk about, we have a panel of guests. I want to call up Tracy Sletto, President of Canada Energy Regulator. If you could come up on the stage, Tracy. Pierre Tremblay, President of the Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission, if you could make your way up here. Terry Hubbard, President of the Impact Assessment Agency of Canada, if you can make your way up here. Either stair is fine. Kim Lavoie, Assistant Deputy Minister of Natural Resources Canada, you can make your way up here. The theme of this session is to deal with the UN Declaration of Indigenous Nations and the how to incorporate, associate, define, determine, path out, how it's being interactive with the regulatory and environmental assessment process that's consistently under review. I just want to thank Senator Brian standing already, a good friend of mine, jurisdiction warrior #1, always reminds people why we're here and who we speak for. And Brian, it's so good to see you, and you always have to acknowledge Brian. He's one of our great mentors to many people. So I'm going to call Sheldon up. He's going to be our moderator. Better get some water, Sheldon, and water up. It must be getting dry. But I'll just, right here, you're going to stand, Sheldon? Yeah, I'll stand. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's give our guests a big round of applause. You know, I'm very thankful for our guests here this morning. And, you know, at the center, you know, we speak a lot about relationships and partnerships and understanding. And we do a lot of our work as that interface organization to not only support our First Nations aspirations, but within that comes along how do we facilitate and how do we play a role as a conduit with our provincial government and agencies, as you've seen this morning, but also our federal government and agencies. And we all know too well the importance of those relationships as they represent a lot of the treaty and inherent rights obligations with respect to our Crown relationships with respect to treaty. And so as we embark on many of the work, or much of the work that we do, we always have to ensure that we're able to bring people together to have those conversations. That is the mandate of the Center of Excellence. And over the years, in the course of my tenure at the Center, many of those conversations have been around building relationships as an organization that supports initiatives of First Nations, with the Impact Assessment Agency of Canada, with the Canadian Energy Regulator, with the Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission, as well as Natural Resources Canada, more specifically Nakwaiwash, which is a Indigenous-focused unit within NRCan. And we've been able to build some strong lines of communication because there are a lot of concerns when it comes to energy development and how we're going to move about those sectors for the coming years. And we look at the federal government's new priorities around major project development, the need for regulatory efficiency, and how do we do that best respecting the rights and interests of First Nations or Indigenous people with respect to the implementation of UNDRIP. And so all of these things come together in many conversations that I have throughout the day, and we're very grateful to have the heads, the leaders, the presidents of the organizations that are here And for us at the center, we understand when it comes to the roles of the chiefs, of the council members of our First Nations, ensuring that we facilitate the communication with respect to the leads of the agencies and organizations, the ministers, that we have the heads or leadership from our communities talking to the heads or leadership of the respective agencies. And so to have them all here today at our first inaugural event is something that I'm very grateful and very happy. We can all hear directly from the presidents of the organizations, which is extremely important. And so with that, we want to get into some questions, familiarization throughout the next 50 minutes or 45 minutes or so. So maybe I will ask you to give a wave. Tracy Sleto, she leads the Canadian Energy Regulator. Pierre Tremblay leads the Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission. Terrence Hubbard leads the Impact Assessment Agency. And ADM Kim Lavoie with Naquawash. And so let's give them a big round of applause once again for being here. I think we'll get right into questions, so it's not as quaint and, sitting back as the couches in the other room. So I'm sorry about the formal, but we're trying to follow along the announcements, so it seemed easier and to organize things here. But just one quick question. I guess I'll pose the initial question to Tracy with the Canadian Energy Regulator, which of course there's been lots of work done with the advisory councils, Indigenous advisory and monitoring committees. I believe Richard Asagan is here and others that participate and are part of that. IAMC, as we call it, are here as well. And with respect to the Canadian Energy Regulator, they're responsible for the oversight of thousands of kilometers of pipeline infrastructure in our First Nations treaty and traditional territories. And as we heard yesterday, these national energy corridors are again at the forefront of economic discussions across the country. And many of these projects would definitely cross our lands here in Saskatchewan and others across the country. And to Tracy, maybe I'll just ask you to share a little bit from your perspective and as it relates to the mandate of the CER, just to share a little bit about some of your key initiatives currently being advanced by the CER that support the implementation of UNDRIP into Canadian law and result in greater participation of our First Nations in decision making as it relates to current and future energy projects down the road. So Tracy, I'll turn things to you with that first question.
Perfect.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. I'll just make sure the mics, you can hear me all right? Yeah, perfect. Well, good morning, everyone. As Sheldon mentioned, my name is Tracy Sleto. I'm the head of the Canada Energy Regulator. We're based in Calgary, but I will just share that I grew up in Prince Albert, and so it is my absolute pleasure to be back in Saskatchewan, to be back in Saskatoon, where I went to school, and to spend the day here yesterday. It was an extraordinary day. I just am so excited by the conversations that I was a part of yesterday. The wisdom of the elders, the inspiration of the youth leaders, just extraordinary youth leadership yesterday, participating throughout the day. The calls to action from the leadership that were around the tables that I was at yesterday, and then just to be able to see the dancers, including you, Sheldon. It was extraordinary last night. That evening was something else. So I just want to say thank you. I'll mention as well, for those of you that may not know what the Canada Energy Regulator does, and I'll share. One of my most exciting things is to actually talk about the role of a regulator. And a lot of people might say, my goodness, that's not necessarily a topic that everyone is really excited about hearing about. But I will tell you what I enthusiastically share around the role of a regulator and the CER. And specifically, you're going to hear more from my colleagues about what differentiates the CER from the CNSC and the IAA and all of the alphabet as we go through it. But the Canada Energy Regulator is really focused on a safety and an economic regulatory mandate. So a safety regulator is really helping to make sure that harm is prevented when activities that we regulate are conducted. And our mandate is around the transportation of energy that predominantly would happen in a pipeline or in a power line that crosses a border. So if that's crossing a border between two provinces or crossing a border into the US, then we will have a regulatory mandate. And the focus is really a safety mandate. We have an economic regulatory mandate as well around some tolls and tariffs on what's charged on some of those facilities and infrastructure. And then we have an energy information mandate, which is something I'm really excited to talk about, and particularly here, because one of the great initiatives that we've had, particularly through our MOU with the Saskatchewan Centre of Excellence, is on demonstration in the hall next door, where our teams have worked together to put together energy information on oil and gas wells and specific energy information that the chiefs and the leaders from the COE identified as really important to communities. And now we're actually ready to release that in the coming weeks. It's extraordinary, and I'd really encourage you to go check it out. We've got a talented team over there that are ready to show you and show their work. But with that economic and regulatory safety regulation mandate, the UN Declaration and involving Indigenous communities and rights holders in our work is critically important. And I'll mention just two things, because I know we'll want to hear from everybody. As we're thinking about our regulatory mandate, there's about 73,000 kilometers of pipeline in the country that's regulated by the CER. And we regulate what we refer to as a life cycle regulatory mandate. And that means from the time a project's even thought about, right through to the time a project might be decommissioned or abandoned, we have an oversight role. And that means that not only hearings and adjudication of decisions at the front end about whether or not to build a project occur as part of the CER with our commission, like a court of record, but we're going to have inspections all the way along. We're going to have compliance verification activities all the way along the construction, operation, and eventual abandonment or decommissioning of those pipelines. And what flows in those pipelines, for us, we see a lot of oil and gas activity in those pipelines. Obviously, that's a major focus of the energy sector in Western Canada and in Canada. But we regulate anything that goes in a pipeline. So think about what's shifting in our economy: hydrogen, carbon. We regulate a pulp and paper slurry pipeline in part of Canada. We regulate a propane line for a Bible camp that crosses a border. So with those kinds of activities, if it's in a pipeline, we're going to regulate it. And the communities that we work with, Indigenous leadership and communities across the country, we have those long-term relationships because those relationships occur and impacts occur in those communities over that life cycle. So long-term relationships is where we're really focused. And guided by the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, we see it critically important to have Indigenous peoples involved in decision-making around oversight and working with us so that we have joint inspections, joint activities, involvement through the hearing processes in terms of Crown consultation activities, but that partnership and that shift is just critically important. And happy to talk more about that. I know my colleagues will also want to share a bit more about what they're interested in. But before I leave, I want to say that the partnership and the involvement with agencies such as the COE or with individual communities or rights holders or nations is, I think, really important for us to be able to shift and transform how the whole system works, so that we're making good decisions, that we're doing what's right for the country, and to meet the moment that I think yesterday was so extraordinarily on display, this idea of being able to work together differently and collaborate to make good things happen, and at the same time prevent harm and make sure that the regulatory environment is fit for purpose and can do its job. And so with that in mind, I'll pause. I know others will want to add more, but it is my absolute pleasure to be here, and I'm just really grateful for the opportunity to not only learn from what I heard yesterday, but to be part of the discussion today. So
well, thank you very much, Tracy. And you know, as the head of such an important agency across the country, I'm very happy that you're here. And it's good for our people and our people here in Saskatchewan, broadly, to know who you are and to be able to hear directly from you, to share the message on behalf of your organization. So thank you. Thank you very much. And I know that there's a lot of work that's being done, but as you mentioned, there's still a lot of work to do, but coming together to be able to communicate effectively and respectfully and to be received respectfully, that's the important piece of the work moving forward, so thank you. Next, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to call upon our good friend Pierre to share some words as well, because we know that as we look to the future of energy, really across the globe, it's a lot of learning I know that me and my team have done and been doing for the past couple of years to ensure that we're helping to build capacity, to helping to support and being there for our First Nations to understand a bit more around deployment of SMRs and nuclear in southern Saskatchewan. And you know, a big role of that rests not only with us, but with the Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission. And again, I'm very pleased to have Pierre here to share directly to us. And maybe Pierre, I'll pose this to you. What are some of the ways that the CNSC intends to ensure meaningful consultation and cooperation with our First Nations and communities, Indigenous communities in Saskatchewan, with respect to the new technologies and projects being considered? And as a secondary piece, in what ways will the CNSC work to have effective participation in the regulatory decision-making process that will respect First Nations and Indigenous rights? So I'll share that with you to provide some comments on this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheldon, and let me first start by congratulating you for this amazing conference these 2 days. I wasn't able to join you, but you know, it's obvious to me that the province of Saskatchewan and Indigenous communities are embracing a new world. There's significant changes going on. And, you know, I know this because I'm coming to Saskatoon and to Saskatchewan on a regular basis. It's probably my #1 destination in Canada. So that tells me something about the people of Saskatchewan and the direction that things are going. So congratulations and thank you. So my name is Pierre Tremblay, and I'm the President and CEO of the Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission. Tracy talked a little bit about the Canadian Energy Regulator, and we share a lot of things. Our focus, we're a quasi-judicial rulemaking, permitting organization. We're an independent organization. We have a staff, which I'm the president and CEO of around 1,100 staff that are the whole life cycle regulator for everything to do with nuclear power, from the very beginning, the mining, the extraction, to facilities that produce nuclear fuel, to the facilities, the power reactors that operate, and to the back end, to the closure of the facilities, as well as the decommissioning of the facilities. In addition to that, we regulate fusion research and development in Canada, and also thousands of licensees, permit holders who operate radiological devices for purposes of inspections as well as medical treatments throughout the country. The organization's been around in its previous form as the Atomic Energy Control Board for many, many decades, and I couldn't be more proud of the work that we do and of the responsibilities that we have on behalf of Canadians, and we work for all of you. So our mandate is more safety related. We're sharply focused on protecting Canadians and protecting the environment, not so much of an economic regulator, if you will. So we don't share that, but we have a sharp focus on safety. We are independent. We won't sacrifice our safety. But we live in an environment that is dynamic, and we're listening and paying attention. Indigenous communities, First Nations, this being Treaty 6 territory, very important to us and to all of Canadians. We've been on a journey of learning, of reconciliation, and we see changes going on all around us. It's vital important that we have the engagement and important dialogue and discussion so that we're moving forward together. You know, Indigenous communities have been impacted for many years by the nuclear industry, and I'm not proud of our early history. I've, you know, talked about and heard the discussion around, I've been doing this for 20 years or 25 years. I've been doing this for a little longer than that. And so I've seen the changes. I've been on my own personal journey of learning, and we are very committed to this. So part answer to your question, we're not here for the short term. We're here for the long term, as are all of Canadians, and we're looking to the betterment of our communities. We're not an advocate for nuclear power. We recognize that it is here, and it has great potential. It's a complex technology. We need to understand it. We need to make sure it is safe. We have a role and responsibility to Canadians to disseminate information, objective information about the technologies, the benefits, and the risks associated with it. And so we do that on an ongoing basis. We have seen a transition from acrimony and division to honest conversations, to agreements being forged. We recently approved the construction of a new nuclear, an SMR, at the Darlington facility in Ontario. That's the first license granted in many decades in Canada. The contribution, the participation with the Williams treaties in that area was vital to progress being made. And we're seeing other successful moves forward. It's a long, complicated road, a lot of voices to be heard. There's a process to be followed, but we're certainly committed to it. Our own commission hearings, because I'm not only the president and CEO of the staff, but I'm also a commissioner and involved in decision-making, has changed significantly in terms of making adjustments to how we communicate, how we set up, how we visually appear in terms of the commission hearings, as well as the conversations that are taking place. And so we're very committed to that. We seek and obtain long-term relationships with communities that already are hosts to nuclear facilities, but also are sensitive to the need to have early engagement and discussions. And so we're very open to reaching out and being part of those conversations to make sure that the knowledge is there for the communities to make informed decisions about their future, about their aspirations, and how nuclear energy might form part of that future. So this is a passion for me. I could go on for a long time. I've started answering the question, but I'll leave the floor to others. Thank you.
Awesome. And, I want to just continue to encourage your approach and intent. I think, as we start to learn a little bit more about nuclear, and there's announcements being made, and of course our rights holders in the impacted areas as well. There's a lot of concern around what the future holds in terms of energy, and doing things directly and communicating directly, working directly with the rights holders in the regions is always an extremely important aspect of your process, and I want to continue to encourage that as organizations like ours, as the Centre. We're there to assist and support our First Nations, but the responsibility lies directly with the rights holders. So I want to just continue to encourage your work on that end, and I know you've been paying attention to that, so it's awesome. Thank you. I want to again thank Terrence for being here. Terrence, we've worked for a number of years together. And, I think over the past, 7, 8 years, we've really seen a change in perspective on some fronts when it comes to the impacts to the environment, and how do we play a role in not only educating, but decision-making around lessening those impacts or mitigating those potential impacts when it comes to projects. And so we've had a relationship with the Impact Assessment Agency to figure that out, to host forums, to do capacity building exercises with our nations, so that our nations can understand some of those responsibilities that lie with the federal government with respect to our rights and interests as First Nations. And so that's been a really important and really great partnership in terms of working together with the Impact Assessment Agency. And as we look at new aspects around regulatory efficiency is a term that we're hearing. And, you know, perhaps suggesting that only provincial environmental assessments would suffice in lieu of, you know, the more broader federal reviews to expedite approvals. I think that brings some concern in some respects for us as First Nations, but just maybe share a bit about how, you know, your role with the agency and some of the things that you're doing, you know, to support that communication and the ability for First Nations to bring forward our voices, I think is a really important piece of your work. And I know you've been doing a lot of work moving towards that and how we facilitate that and welcome it into the federal world. So, Terrence.
Thank you, Sheldon. And before getting into specifics there, I wanted to echo some of the congratulations that others have said to you and the team for hosting such a world-class event. It's hard to believe this is the first one. It's like you've been doing it for a long, long time. Also really appreciate the opportunity to participate in and witness the signing of the MOU this morning. So congratulations to you and the Center for that, to Chief Tyson and the board, Rupin, Minister Harrison. That's the kind of leadership that we need to see these relationships advance and be successful in advancing major energy and infrastructure projects like we're talking about. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
My name's Terry Hubbard. I'm the president of the Impact Assessment Agency. We're based in Ottawa, but we've got offices right across the country, recognizing that a lot of the development activities are taking place in communities coast to coast to coast. And we've heard a lot of conversation about relationships, and we do recognize that it's important to have those long-standing relationships and be part of the communities where development is taking place, to be able to understand the views and perspectives, to be able to do the work that we do. The Impact Assessment Agency is mandated to review both the positive and negative impacts of major project developments across the country, whether that's energy projects, mining, major infrastructure projects like ports, bridges, rail. A lot of conversation in the media. You might think that we're involved in everything, but the reality is we really focused in on a small number of very large projects across the country that are most likely to have big impacts in areas of federal jurisdiction. And we carry out our role and our mandate in a very collaborative, open fashion, both with our provincial partners, with our life cycle regulators, but also with Indigenous nations and groups right across the country. And that's important because those views and perspectives are critical to understanding to be able to manage the impacts of major project developments. We've heard a lot of conversation recently about the need for change in the work that we're doing. It was a big theme in the federal election campaign. It was a big theme in the speech from the throne earlier this week in terms of change required to be able to support the economic threats that the country is facing. And what does that mean in terms of the work that we're doing going forward? And Sheldon, you alluded to commitments to work closer through provincial governments moving forward. And I guess those aren't new commitments, I'd like to say first off. We've been working towards partnerships and collaboration with provincial governments for many years. We've got examples across the country of very good collaboration where we're able to put in place single processes to work together to be able to assess and identify and mitigate impacts of major projects and work together in that regard. And I guess the commitment is to build on those successes. It's not about sidestepping our responsibilities, abdicating, doing the right thing on projects. It's about kind of leaning in and doing the hard thing and working together to find ways to get things done. The Supreme Court gave us some pretty clear direction a couple of years ago, identifying that resource projects are a shared responsibility, particularly the environmental impacts, and really indicated that both levels of government need to kind of roll up their sleeves and find ways to work together to mitigate the impacts while respecting each other's swim lanes. And that really is what the commitment is moving forward. And if we're going to be successful in being able to advance holistic, rigorous, comprehensive reviews that respect the government's commitments to reconciliation and advancing UNDRIP, then we do need to leverage the strengths, expertise, capacity that's available in the system, whether it's in Indigenous nations, whether it's in provincial governments, whether it's in the federal government, who's got the right tools, capacity, resources to be able to address the issues and do it in a more efficient way. So these partnerships, we're optimistic that it will enable us going forward to focus our time, energy, and resources on those core issues that are most important to the federal government and to our partners to be able to manage those issues really well so we can make timely, efficient decisions going forward. And I think the work and the tremendous collaboration that you had announced this morning with your provincial partners and the private sector proponent to work together makes our lives a lot easier. And the more that we can see that happen, it's going to help accelerate those partnerships that we need to be successful.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you very much, Terry. You know, and I know we've had a relationship for a number of years now, and I know that when it comes to you know, I guess the intersection of federal legislation and regulatory processes and provincial legislation, regulatory processes, and also our First Nations laws and processes as well. You know, there's essentially three groups that are coming together with oftentimes very different approaches and very different needs and perspectives. And so that's the task that we have, is how do we come together to make sure everybody's heard? But being heard is one thing. How do we consider pulling together a path forward that meets the need for everybody or respects the need for what's being brought forward? And I think, you know, one of the things that I think about all the time, and I mentioned it yesterday, is, you know, the need to be at the table. And we advocate each and every day to have a seat at your table, to have a seat at the table of industry. And my thought is that for us as First Nations, we need to offer that same invite to you as well, to sit at our tables. And, you know, I'll continue, as I mentioned earlier, to Pierre, to continue to encourage you to, you know, work with the rights holders, meet with the rights holders, get their perspective, because the elders are very important to that. And then, of course, the youth are extremely important, because as these projects are being introduced and come online, we're looking ahead 7 generations as well, and how do we set the table for those ones that are still coming. And we do that for all our families respectively. But you carry responsibilities of a nation as well, in a certain respect. And so do the chiefs and the elders in their nations as well. It's a heavy load, but these types of relationships are very, very important. And to find that level of respect and candor, I appreciate you all being here to share directly with those that are here. So, thank you. So I'd like to really say that I'm very thankful for Kim to be here. We've developed a strong relationship as well with Niquaywash over the past number of years. And we also work alongside them as a partner in the Indigenous Natural Resource Partnerships program. And that was a program that was initially situated within BC and Alberta. And we did some advocacy work, you know, over the past handful of years with my late good friend, Nilo Edwards, who was the executive director of the First Nations Major Projects Coalition. And we took it upon ourselves to build a relationship, Nilo and I, to not compete, because we serve our people, we serve our elders, we serve First Nations, to participate in the economy, to look at those opportunities to build partnerships. And so Nilo supported, we wrote a letter together to the federal government to expand the program into Saskatchewan and also into Manitoba. And so that's been a great opportunity for us to bring on the capacity to be able to help build partnerships and relationships. We've seen one of them culminate this morning with a really important MOU and agreement to move things forward. But there's other relationships as well that we're supporting and building in geothermal, in critical minerals, you know, these types of things that are really on the horizon for us, for opportunities for First Nation. So Kim leads a group, Nakwewash, and their role within NRCan is to guide the department's reconciliation efforts in the context of the development of energy and natural resources in Canada. This includes the development of a national benefit sharing framework, creation of the Canada Indigenous Loan Guarantee Program and Corporation, participating in the co-development of the UN Declaration Act Action Plan, including Action Plan Measure Number 34, which calls for enhancing Indigenous peoples' participation in decision-making processes. And so as a question that we've put together to ask him to share some thoughts on, in the context of calls for regulatory efficiency and continued need to advance partnerships and meaningful engagement, what steps will Natural Resources Canada be taking to ensure that the perspectives of First Nations in Saskatchewan are included in emerging frameworks guiding the development of future natural resource and energy projects? I'll turn it to you, Kim. Thank you.
Thanks, Sheldon. Small question.
Yeah.
So to begin, I want to let folks know my name's Kimberly Lavoie. I am Mi'kmaq from the Halapu First Nation in Newfoundland. I also happen to be the Assistant Deputy Minister of Nakwewash, which is an Algonquin word for sweet grass that was gifted to us by our elders and residents. And Sheldon talked a bit about our mandate. And so before I go in and dive into the question, I do want to say a big thank you to the elder for the prayer this morning, and to recognize that we are on Treaty 6 territory and the Métis Nation homeland. I think it's important to ground yourself in the truth of the land that you're on. It's no secret that we're in unprecedented times, that the challenges that are facing us today are different than they were a year ago, even months ago. And so as a result, the actions that we need to take to face that threat are different as well. And some of that has come through, Terry talked a little bit about the election platform, about the desire for regulatory efficiency. And one of the things that I want to reiterate is that regulatory efficiency means doing things more effectively. It means reducing overlap and duplication. It doesn't mean cutting corners. It doesn't mean reducing environmental protection, and it does not mean sacrificing Indigenous rights. And I think we need to say that right off the top. And so what this is really is a call to action for everyone to work together. Federal, provincial, Indigenous, industry, all of us need to come together to really look at how can we work together to advance projects in this country. And really you want environmental protection, economic opportunity to come together to develop the most sustainable projects possible. And we can only do that if we leverage all of our knowledge. And that includes Indigenous knowledge. Indigenous peoples have been on this land for, since the dawn of time. And who knows this land better than the people who have lived on it the longest? And if we leverage that knowledge and also ensure that we share the benefits, because historically it's been, it's been a bit of a take culture, I would say, as opposed to a give and take culture. And to know where we're going, we have to know where we've been. And so, the history between governments and Indigenous folks in this land it's not been a good history. The history has been one of colonialism, and that history is one that, I'm not proud of. But we need to remember it, we need to recognize it, and we need to acknowledge it so that we don't repeat the mistakes of the past, so that we can move forward and develop a new path based upon working together and mutual trust. And trust takes time. Trust is about those relationships that you were talking about, Terry. the relationships that you were talking about, Sheldon. And, you know, it's the relationships that we have with organizations like your center that really, really help us move forward in this space, because no one can do it alone. If you do, you tend to kind of go around in circles as opposed to making progress. And that's not where we want to be. It's not where any of us want to be. And so the messages were loud and clear from this government. If folks, the fact that it started with a land acknowledgement, like that's the first time ever that a speech from the throne started with a land acknowledgement. I don't know about you, it gave me chills. It also talked about the need for reconciliation and the importance of reconciliation and how that is essential to our path forward. It did talk about together, and that's not a unilateral act. And the fact that we're looking at all of this guided by the principles of free, prior, and informed consent. And free, prior, and informed consent is it's mentioned in several articles in the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. And in the action plan, there's an action plan with 181 measures in it. There are shared priorities, and then there are individual priorities for each of the distinctions. But in the shared priorities, so they applied to First Nations, Métis, and Inuit. Shared priority 32 is around developing guidance around free, prior, and informed consent. And my team is leading that work, Government of Canada, to really look at what does that guidance look like. And we can't develop that guidance without input from industry, without input from provinces, but most importantly, without input from the that consent within them. And so we need to ensure that as we move forward, that we take into account Indigenous laws, Indigenous knowledge forward in this space. So I think we have a huge, huge opportunity in front of us, but only if we do it right, and that is doing it together.
Yeah, awesome. Let's give them a big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. You know, and I want to say that I truly appreciate your message and your intent within your roles, and massive energy projects come into our regions and territories as First Nations. The processes around the duty to consult and the short timelines to respond, perhaps provincial consultation coupled with federal consultation, plus we need to do our own consultation within our nations. And understanding legislation and regulations is one piece of the puzzle as First Nations. But then once it's understood, and so I think part of my encouragement today will be to think of the then what, and to also, when it comes to our is a strain on First Nations autonomously and collectively. And as a center, we do play a role in terms of supporting the nation as we're requested. But, and I know it's a question you get probably day in and day out, and, you know, to really look to build out that opportunity for those when it comes to notions of free, prior, and informed consent, UNDRIP, all of those things that we talk about each and every day with our elders and our people within our nations. But I thank you for being here in person, because it does mean a lot. You lead organizations responsible to carry out mandates from the federal government, and also work with us as rights holders, work with industry and proponents as well. So you have a hard job. But when it comes to with all of those with our nation, so you can imagine our workload and just strain on capacity as well. So I think that my will be, to work together to figure out a way on how are we going to have an effective process moving forward with respect to each of your organizations, ensuring that we have capacity as nations to come together to independently deliberate and discuss aspects related to projects and in the process as well. So there's lots of work to do, but again, there's lots been done, but a lot more to do. So ladies and gentlemen, let's give them again one more big round of applause for being here. I'm very grateful, and we're on a journey that we will continue on. So with that, I'd like you to come forward. I got some blankets I'd like to present to you and thank you. You know, it's been such a good event with a lot of sharing and a lot of important sharing. And so the sessions have maybe gone a little longer than we thought, but Rupen and I decided we'd forego our time on the stage at this morning to make sure we make space for our guests that have traveled here from across the country and internationally. For our federal government, a big round of applause for being here in person to share with you. So thank you.
Good morning, Hunt, everybody. I hope you remember me from yesterday. I am a First Nations woman from northern Saskatchewan and a member of the English River First Nation. And I just want to say thank you to the Dene drummers who have come from a Wollaston, I believe it was, the Josie Union and the Tisani family. So thank you for that. With regard to UNDRIP, I just wanted to say this is the basis of UNDRIP is to not do anything that affects Indigenous people without first ensuring that there is participation of those Indigenous people in the process. With UNDRIP, this is now international law. With UNDA, it's now Canadian, and I think that's a basis of humanity and a basis of Indigenous nations and a basis of Creator's law. I think that in not speaking so much about the work that the Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission has done over the past 10 years with engagement efforts that they've done with First Nations. They've members here in the room here today. They've along with others like NRCan, CER, IAC, they're all opening up their Indigenous inclusion departments to be able to build within ourselves rather than going outside. They're helping us to learn and understand the nuclear energy sector and other industries that they regulate. In the far north in Saskatchewan, we have such a diverse nationhood across Saskatchewan, and it's good to see that these Canadian representatives from these agencies are able to ensure that they're included. So now, I'll pivot from that. We're moving now on to our breakout sessions. So we've got two rooms. We've got this one here, and then we've got the one just to the right there. And remember, if you get a free moment, please go over to our trade show. The people over there are dying to show you their information and share with you. So please, I'm going to push you over there. We're moving into our breakout sessions. As I said, the first panel discussion is focused on the development of cross-border tribal partnerships. And those who are interested in participating in this section, stay here in Hall C. This discussion will build on much of the advocacy the Center Board has conducted over the past 2 years, forging states and assessing opportunities for First Nations to develop cross-border partnerships in energy and resource development. The concurrent breakout panel, which is next door in Hall A, is which features strong role models for me who have trailblazed a path for our women in leadership roles in the energy and resource development sectors. So make your selections here or next door and after that. So make your decisions, and we will give you a couple minutes, and then we'll get started.